Let's get started and start off with our sports betting story of the day, which comes in favor of the state of Missouri. As of right now, the Gaming Commission has decided, at least for the time being, that the request by the NCAA to prohibit player prop bets and unders and first halves has been officially denied. So as of right now, that's where they stand. If you live in Missouri, you can still make all of these bets. And will this be a landmark across the country? The NCAA wants to start prohibiting certain bets to protect their collegiate athletes. But as of right now, alas, they have not been able to do so. Big story right now by the FBI reporting that they have caught Ryan Wedding. He's a former Olympic snowboarder in Canada, and he was among the FBI's top fugitives. He was on their most wanted list. He faces charges related to multinational drug trafficking and the killing of a federal witness. He was arrested this morning. Authorities had offered a $15 million reward for leading to his arrest. They found him in Mexico. They will extradite him, and Wedding certainly has been a hot topic over the last couple of years for his alleged involvement in drugs and murders and everything else. Okay, brighter days ahead. Let's get to that. The National Football League has a new head coach. It's on the Baltimore Ravens, and his name is Jesse Minter, defensive coordinator, who kind of looks like a Ravens head coach, to be honest with you, right? He succeeds John Harbaugh. He was the Chargers DC. They could potentially be looking for a new DC and a new offensive coordinator if Mike McDaniel decides not to take this job with the Buffalo Bills. If you hadn't heard, McDaniel, former Dolphins head coach, has already accepted the defensive coordinator or the offensive coordinator job with the Chargers, but he may not get that job and end up in Los Angeles. And if he doesn't get the job, it may be because Philip Rivers got the job in Baltimore. Yes, folks, that Philip Rivers, according to ESPN, is interviewing for the head coaching gig in Buffalo today. How about that? Of course, he played for the Colts this past season, did Rivers, coming out of retirement. And a big breaking story yesterday in the world of the NFL that pertains to the Colts. The FBI is seeking records and information about Jim Irsay's death. They're investigating the fact that there could have been a doctor involved. His name is Harry Houtunian, a California addiction specialist, with words like ketamine and substance use being involved as they look further into this to see if there was any foul play or mismanagement of Irsay's medicals. National Football League players' lawyer reveals that she was fired in the wake of raising legal concerns. Veteran lawyer who sued the union and top executives last month, according to a court document filed in federal court this week. Heather McPhee, the NFLPA's Associate General since 2009, revealed in a court filing that the union fired her on December the 30th. Dismissal came less than 2 weeks after she sued the union and Lloyd Howell Jr. In college football, 12-team playoff does remain for next season. It's official, not expanding to 14 or 16. A couple of wrinkles, most importantly notable, that if Notre Dame finishes in the rankings in the top 12, no matter what, they are in the college football playoff. Can't get bounced by another team like Miami, I suppose. Texas Rangers make a trade yesterday to get a frontline starter. It is Mackenzie Gore. He goes from Washington to Texas. The Nationals get 4 prospects back in return. Gore's done a nice job in Washington the last few years since being traded over by the Padres. And naturally, looks like Washington going into a deeper, further rebuild. Last night in the NBA, the Lakers led big over the Clippers. That lead didn't last. Kawhi Leonard leads them back 24 points. Clippers are hot. They've won 7 out of their last 8. This despite Luka's 32 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists. 112-104 was the final. And Ty Lue, very appreciative of the big comeback win against their rivals in L.A.
We just got to do a better job of taking care of the basketball. You know, we know they're going to junk the game up. They got down 26, started, blitzing and firing, and we prepared for it, but we just didn't handle it good, and so they got turnovers. It was up 26. LeBron gets offensive rebound, makes a 3. We turn the basketball over, they score again, and then they kind of got momentum just off of our turnovers. But like you said, our guys just, stay in the course and find a way to win the game. And I told them at halftime, we was up 19, but every single game's been this way since I've been here for 6 years. Either they're up big, we're up big, another team comes back and makes a game of it.
Just a poor job of just defensive coverage execution, and then we just didn't trust each other on the offensive end. Not enough passing, and that was a lot of the game. Not enough passing, and that's, I think that's a consistent thing when we don't play well. We don't pass to each other, and we don't execute defensively.
Dallas Mavericks pull off a pretty big upset yesterday. Cooper Flagg had 21 points. As 6.5-point underdogs, the Mavs beat the Warriors outright, 123 to 115. This despite Steph Curry's 38 points. Naturally, without Jimmy Butler, someone on the Warriors is going to have to score more. Maybe it is Steph Curry. In this situation, Jason Kidd gives all the credit for Curry to be one of the first players in NBA history with 10,000 career three-point attempts, but likes the fact that his team beat Curry, even with him blowing up a little bit.
Just composure, taking care of the ball, but defensively understanding. Steph can get going, and he got going up, but I thought the group kept his composure when he went on a little mini run there on the defensive end. And then on the offensive end, I thought we did a good job of executing and sharing the ball. Chrissy was great again tonight. Najee was really, really good tonight, too. So those two kept us together down the stretch, but it's a great team win against a very good team.
Fourth quarter, I mean, they got 39 on us. A lot of free throws. I don't know how many, probably 10 or 12. And we got killed on the glass, 54-35. That negated the turnovers that we forced from them. I liked our offensive game. We got a lot of great looks. It just was a night where shots weren't going down, but we did a good job, taking care of the ball and moving the ball. They're rebounding. Their free throws, just too much.
Last night, Philly beat Houston in overtime, 128 to 122. This despite a big game from the 76ers big man Joel Embiid, who had 32 points, 15 rebounds, and yes, 10 assists, a triple-double for Embiid. But the story in this one was Tyrese Maxey. He had 36 and 10. Maxey said it was a grind in overtime, despite picking up the win.
I think we were just resilient tonight, man. We had to fight through some adversity, like you said. Reed Shepard came in and gave them a big, big lift, hit some big shots, but, we stayed with it. Yeah, Trendon was a big voice in there just saying 5-minute game. Joel stepped up and said, listen, things happen, let's go get a W. I was kind of like, that shouldn't happen, but, it happened. So, but that was good resilience by us, man. Like, those are tough games to win. You get down, or you go up, you get down, fight all the way back, think you about to win it, basically. And then, got to go to overtime, and we won it, so that was good.
Turnovers, didn't convert some pretty easy shots, some good looks. And then, like I said, let Maxey get to his spots too easily.
How tough is it in a game that goes to overtime to miss 12 free throws?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the story for sure. I think our defense in the first half wasn't good enough. We got better in the second half, and then, turnovers, miscues on defense, and then the free throws compounded.
Speaking of upsets, another one in the NBA last night. Looks like Minnesota's going through their slump. They've lost 4 games in a row. They were 9.5-point favorites last night and lost to the Chicago Bulls. Final score, 120 to 115. All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Hey, great to have Sam McQuillan back in the house here on NewsWire. Feels like everybody we're bringing on today and all of our crew who are based up north are getting ready for this big snowstorm of sorts here. Now, I'm not used to this sort of thing, Sam. But I would tell you that while it does seem like an incoming nightmare to some degree, it will give you some more time to write some great columns for us that we can talk about next week here on NewsWire.
Yes, quite a gift, the snowstorm, and a very subtle flex by you that you're down in Miami where it's nice and warm. So congrats on that, Craig.
Oh, just saying. Just saying. Sunny outside, not bad. Tennessee's supposed to get some crazy storm too, right? Tennessee also as well, but that's not what we're focused on, Sam and I. We're talking about maybe potentially facing a college campus ban betting on sports. Naturally, you would think to yourself, okay, well, does this involve 18-year-olds? Yes. Does it involve 21-year-olds? Yes, too. And I think, Sam, that's part of the dynamic where if you're 21 years old, man, it seems like this is going to be a hard thing to push through. But if it does, it would be the first of its kind.
Yeah, if you're 18, if you're 19, if you're 20, 21, 22, 23, that's effectively what these two bills that were proposed in Tennessee would ban. All kinds of legal sports betting from college campuses in Tennessee. These two bills were introduced in the legislature this week as lawmakers came back to decide on laws, which come about a week after we had that huge FBI indictment, which named about 39 players at 17 different Division I men's college basketball programs in this wide sweeping point shaving scandal where first half unders were targeted, where there was the Chinese Basketball Association was involved, where you had this group of mafia linked alleged bad doers bribing these student athletes up to $30,000 in some cases. We're now seeing the reaction to all of these huge scandals in this form. I would say this is probably the biggest thing we've seen yet. It would be on an entire college campus in Tennessee. You can't have sports betting. That means that the campuses would be forced on their Wi-Fi networks to block access to legal sports books. So not only would the sports books have to comply with this rule, it would even extend as far as a mile radius off campus or at, let's say like I'm in New York, for example, St. John's plays at MSG. Obviously this is a Tennessee scenario, but in this instance, for the entire day, I would not be able to bet at Madison Square Garden because a college game is happening there. So it's a very, very wide sweeping ban, something obviously the legal sports books would not like to have happen. If I pull my crystal ball out, I would say because of that, I don't think this will happen in its entirety. What could end up happening is these bills get, whittled down a bit and you see some other form or restriction passed. Obviously, we've seen a lot of other states try to take some sort of action to combat this as well. I would just kind of, if you're banning the legal sports books from campuses and colleges, you're not banning the offshore sports books, the illegal websites that people can access, in some cases prediction markets, which states have tried to get out of their states entirely. Those will still all be there. So if you're going to ban legal sports betting, you have to make sure you're also enforcing the illegal sports betting, which I would argue is even worse because in the case of all these scandals, that's how these things were caught. They were all, whether it was a smart move or bad move, these bad actors allegedly placed these bets on legal sports books. So that's how they were caught. If they're not available on college campuses, I know college kids find a lot of ways to get things that they can't access legally on campus. So I would just kind of urge lawmakers to keep that in mind as well. But we'll definitely see how this keeps progressing throughout what should be a really interesting legislative cycle.
Well, if there's any pushback there, maybe the indicator would be our next topic of discussion, where the NCAA, really Charlie Baker, the president, decided to say, hey, you folks in the state of Missouri, we cannot have prop bets on our athletes, maybe getting rid of unders in the first half. But it seems as though that's a losing battle, at least for now, Sam, which tells us that as strong and as, I would say, outspoken as the NCAA is against sports betting, there's just too much money, it would appear, at stake. And so Missouri, the first state to say no. And is there even a fight for Charlie Baker anywhere else after this?
Yeah, the irony of this whole thing is really just incredible. Like the actual lawsuit that got overturned to basically allow sports betting in states is the NCAA versus Murphy, who is the governor of New Jersey. So the NCAA was suing to stop New Jersey from legalizing sports betting. They changed their tune once they realized they could get a lot of money from it. And it was something they couldn't stop. But now with all these scandals happening, Charlie Baker has been, over the past year or so, really banging the drum, urging states to ban player props. We've seen states like Vermont comply with this, Ohio comply with this. And now his latest form of basically asking states and sports books to, take more steps to regulate this stuff and kind of, safeguard integrity is asking states to ban betting on first half unders, which, is no coincidence that is really the huge bets that we saw mentioned in this FBI indictment. There is a lot of kind of conversation out there in the sports betting world, whether you should be able to bet on things like that, whether you should even be able to bet on a player's underperformance, things that are manipulated by one player very easily. It's very easily at the end of a half to just, stop scoring. I think that was kind of the case that was outlined in the FBI indictments that were unsealed last week. But so far already, you have one state saying we're actually not going to do that. And the reason isn't so cut and dry in terms of they disagree with him. It's Missouri only legalized sports betting in December. It's only when it launched. So it's only been about a month, almost 2 months of its legal market. Under the Missouri's law, the state has to respond within a week to any request like this. So because they only had 7 days to look at this, they came back and said, they voted 3-0. We're not going to ban first half unders, but they did say, we'll look at it at a later date. We'll examine this. We'll take time to see what other states have done. We need to, weigh all these factors, how it's going to impact tax revenue. So essentially they aren't saying we disagree. They're just saying, whoa, we just legalized sports betting. It's, we're rewriting the law already, but with the pace of all these scandals and the way things keep changing in this crazy world, that might just kind of be the status quo now, where states just continually need to change and re-regulate. And I think that will, end up with regulators having more power. Again, it's something we kind of always talk about in the industry is, the sports books don't want people to police them. They don't want people to come back with laws to regulate and further ban them. The sports books should be really out in front trying to make sure this kind of stuff doesn't happen, and if it does, they're flagging it. But it could be a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. When they flag it, it's bad headlines anyway. And obviously, lawmakers want to run with that. So we'll see if more states adopt it or not.
Yeah, it's a fair point by you. All right, let's end here with prediction markets. We couldn't get out of one discussion with Sam without discussion on prediction markets. So here we go. The CFTC says they're going to take a close look at prediction markets. The first time we've really ever heard this before. And so it's one step toward the unknown. I don't necessarily think that this may mean anything in the end, but once they open up Pandora's box here to investigate, and we see some of the pushback coming from a lot of states with the cease and desist, I mean, I'm not going to say that prediction markets are coming to an end here anytime soon, but who knows what the future holds? Not as clear as maybe it was a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I think that's a spot on take, Craig. The news here is a step has been taken, but you have no idea what the heck that step is going to look like. The new chair of the CFTC, who was only confirmed in December, remember the CFTC went almost an entire year without any real leadership, without any seats filled, understaffed, underfunded. You had the NBA, the MLB, NFL pleading, asking, urging for them to make rules around these crazy sports prediction markets we have, which are able to self-certify with new markets and offer things on the transfer portal, offer crazy markets that are not allowed in sports books. The CFTC chair, Michael Seelig, finally came out in an op-ed this week saying, we are going to create new regulations and new rules for all of the things under the CFTC's jurisdiction. That's all these burgeoning financial products, not just prediction markets, but obviously that includes sports prediction markets as well. He called it a future-proof initiative that'll unfold in the coming days, whether or not the coming days means next week or next year. Who knows with that, but it is a step in the direction of maybe we will finally have some clarity around these rules, where, as you mentioned, Craig, tons of states are suing to stop this. Tons of states have lobbied the CFTC to stop this. So the CFTC is kind of finally opening their eyes, saying, okay, we're going to do something. Now we'll have to wait and see what that is.
Well, we'll see, Sam. Sam, have a great weekend. Keep the shovel handy. We'll talk again next week.
Thanks. You too, Craig.